unfortunately. All this money for these expensive equipment, but it doesn't seem to work very well. So first of all, I just want to welcome everybody this evening. Just a first couple of points per the town fire marshal. I have to point out where the exits are. So I'm going to be your friendly airline helper. The exits are, as you can tell, back and forward. Please make a note of it so everybody knows where it is, okay? Second, if you look at my two clerks, Karen and Brandon, they both have sign-up sheets. Anybody like to sign up, please sign up. All right, if you get a chance. All right, so that's the first thing. So make sure. Second, tonight just do some housekeeping so everybody understands what's going on. As you know, this evening's on the this is the 21st of November, 2017. Right? And this evening is the public hearing to receive public comment on the proposed environmental assessment for toll locations 1 and 2. All of you, I believe they have, we have numerous copies in the room over there. You still have access to them. So this is what it looks like, and it has all the information in it about what is this proposed assessment. Second, there is also a sheet, and I'll have them pass it out if you want. Here. And this is a sheet just so you have other places where if you need to view the EA, as they call it, or want to send public comment to. And it just states where it's available and location. If anybody needs it, it's right there. Also, we have, I believe at the table the two clerks have, there is a written comment sheet. Some people don't like to speak come before publicly, so here's an opportunity also. You can fill out this sheet. Brendan and Karen, do you have the sheets available for the public?
Yes.
Okay. So they have those sheets right there. Okay. So that's it. Next, we have, as you all know, the notice was published according to the appropriate process. It's just a copy. If anyone needs one, a copy of, at least in the journal, both in English and Espanol. If you need copies, or you're more than welcome to have one. Next, once again, I'll ask, is everybody signed up? And if not, please go to the two clerks. Meanwhile, could one of the clerks give me the sign-up sheet, please? And then anybody continue to sign up. Would you like to text it? Over to my left, by the way, is the stenographer. He is sitting, of course, really close by, so we can understand what I'm saying and hopefully what all of you are saying. Also, by the way, I apologize. I've been fighting a bad cold for the past week and a half, so my voice is kind of raspy. So my apologies for that. And also, in advance, if I don't say your name correctly, I apologize also for that. All you do is you have 3 minutes to speak, put forward your public comment, your concern, and then we'll move on to the next person. I'll read off the name and we'll go from there, okay? Everybody understand where we are? Okay, thank you. All right, so I guess the first person, and what I'll do is I'll time, of course, we're trying to be fair to everybody. So the first person we have, Senator Elaine J. Morgan.
Thank you. Very good. There are some major concerns. One of them, you don't have these pages. Very nice book, by the way. I'm wondering how much these cost. The books, are you going to do these for all 15? How many tolls will there be? 15? Oh, you're not answering questions. Okay. So, 14, 15, how many tolls? All right, you're going to get the comments. They're not, these pages aren't numbered. But towards the 3/4 of the way through, there is an environmental determination by DEM saying that they are saying not to proceed with this project because there is a environmental impact on the community or the wetlands. It cannot be ruled out that the alterations to nearby wetlands, something plant community, will occur based on the materials submitted. So Charlie Herbert on 7/5/17 did this study and advised not to proceed with this, number one. Number two, has there been a macroeconomic impact analysis done? This is going to hurt our economy. $40 for a truck a day would equal, what, $200, if they travel 5 days a week, it'll be $200 a week for a truck. Where are they gonna pass that money off to? They're gonna have to make a profit. They will pass that on to us as consumers in anything they bring into the state. Thirdly, 395, again, was designed to bypass Rhode Island, and that is what they'll be using. 395. We'll lose the gas tax that the trucks provide. This is gonna hurt our truck stop at Exit 5, which is a private business. This is going to have a big impact on them if the trucks don't come in. It's gonna have a big economic devastation milk will be $7 a gallon instead of $5 that it is now. 10, I mean, there is no furniture, everything from the shoes you wear to the clothes on your back to the food we eat. This is going to have a major impact, and I can't understand why you people don't see this. We don't want this. Rhode Island doesn't want this. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Next up, is it Pat?
She's asked me to speak for her,
So you have,
and then I'm next on the list. So that gives me 6 minutes, right? Yes. My name is Ken Brazier. I'm with Concerns,
Speak on behalf of
Miss Devereux. My concern is as a citizen who lives in Hopkinton area. My questions that I hope to get some answers for were, not that long ago, diesel prices went up dramatically. Everyone was impacted by that. I can recall truck drivers circling the State House because of the cost of diesel fuel going up. That was ostensibly to fix the bridges. No bridges were fixed. Okay? At least this time you're fixing the bridges before you have the money. Why is it starting in the southern part of the state, where the environmental impact will be the greatest? You already have tons of acres of impervious concrete and asphalt in the northern part of the state where there'll be no impact. It always goes to the southern end of the state whenever anything is bad going to happen. And to address Senator Morgan's question, what are you planning on doing if the trucks boycott the state? Look around this room. Can you point to anything in this room, anything in your houses that didn't come here on a truck? You can't do it. You're trying to, now I'm going to go for my side. Okay? I have some concerns about the bridges in Hope Valley on Route 3. Those bridges should have been fixed before these tolls went in and any diversion took place whatsoever. They've narrowed those bridges down. I understand the one that's nearest to the Stagecoach Inn is due to be fixed, but it's going to take 2 to 3 years to fix it. The increased traffic on those bridges is going to be very detrimental to them. We're in Charahoe Middle School. Does anybody know where Charahoe is? It doesn't exist. It's the towns of Hopkinton, Charleston, and Richmond. All of those school children travel on school buses. It's the largest school district in the state. Those school bus routes are going to be impacted by this traffic. All of those routes are going to have to be extended. We're going to have to put more drivers in place on buses in order to accommodate the timing to get the kids to school. Nowhere in this have I seen any thought to that. And finally, you're trying to get Amazon to come to the state of Rhode Island. Do you know how many trucks Amazon uses? One last question. Is there any other state in which a program similar to this has been successfully implemented? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I'm not sure. Is it Grandma or CPA? Sorry? If you could just state. Just state your name.
My name is Pierre Duval. I live in Richmond, Rhode Island.
So you have the floor.
Well, I'm concerned about the additional truck traffic too that's going to come through town. I did a little experiment with my TomTom, and I came off the highway and I started driving up Route 3, and my TomTom, being programmed for the quickest route to Providence, had me turn right where Route 138 branches off of Route 3, and now I got my 75-foot semi-tractor trailer and I'm driving through Richmond. No place to turn around. My TomTom tells me to turn around at Meadowbrook Road, a nice little neighborhood. I can't make the turn because in order to do it, I gotta traverse onto the other side of the road to make the turn with my 75-foot trailer. So I can't turn around there. So I keep going because my TomTom keeps telling me to turn around, trying to send me back to Route 95. The next place it tells me to turn around is just before Town Hall, where the little triangle is. And again, doesn't look like I can navigate that with my 75-foot tractor trailer. So I proceed to Charahoe Furniture, and I take a left there, and another left, and now I'm finally headed back to Route 3. But in all that time, I've traversed maybe 4 miles inside Richmond, narrow roads, no place to turn around. I'm a lost tractor trailer driver trying to avoid the tolls on the highway. How many people are going to be doing that? That's it.
Thank you, sir. That's Christopher Maxwell.
Thank you.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. My name is Chris Maxwell, and I represent the Rhode Island Trucking Association and all local trucking companies adversely affected by truck-only tolls. Our opposition to this plan from its introduction in the spring of 2015 is well documented. And despite the justified rancor that still exists, our industry's willingness to contribute to infrastructure improvements remains steadfast even beyond our existing contributions, which are considerable. In 2016, the trucking industry in Rhode Island paid roughly $70 million in federal and state roadway taxes. The average 5-axle tractor trailer, the very class of trucks that would be tolled under the roadworks plan, paid over $6,000 in state highway user fees and taxes. And this is in addition to an average of over $9,000 in federal user fees and taxes. The net effect of these figures is that the trucking industry paid 29% of all taxes owed by Rhode Island motorists, despite trucks representing only 6% of vehicles miles traveled in the state. These disproportionate figures directly correlate to the environmental assessment of truck tolls at locations 1 and 2 of this plan. According to the Lewis Berger Group's investment-grade tolling study issued on November 3rd, traffic counts at Class 8 tractor trailers at the 2 locations being studied represented only 2.1% of all vehicle traffic. That includes cars, trucks, everything. Under this plan, based on the Berger figures, 2% of two of every 1 narrow class of vehicles, Class 8 tractor trailers, would be paying 100% of the tolls. This while 98% of all other motorists pay nothing at all. Throughout this debate, the state of Rhode Island has gone through great lengths to protect the Rhode Island business owner, or at least appear to be concerned about the effects of this plan. From failed attempts at tax credits to commercial vehicle fee reductions, the consistent message, although very inaccurate, has been that this program will be targeting through truckers. The provision of a $40 cap for all trucks still remains as part of the program, and in our estimation, is quite vulnerable to a legal challenge. The cap would protect local businesses by giving them predictability on their daily toll expenditure. There is great disparity in the cap protection which favors locally traveling trucks. A successful challenge and elimination of the cap would have catastrophic effects on local businesses, our supply chain costs, and most importantly, our cost of living. Businesses are counting on this protection, and its legal vulnerability should be vetted. Another false notion that's been sold is that through truckers would shoulder the burden of this proposed tolling. In the proposed tolling areas, the Berger report illustrates yet another disproportionate burden on local truck traffic. In fact, the Berger study showed that 56% of tractor-trailer trips in these two areas are intrastate, while only 6% are through trips. The remaining 38% of trips have either a destination in Rhode Island or are carrying loads that originate from Rhode Island. Clearly, Rhode Island truckers will bear a far greater burden than through truckers. The claim by our legislative leaders that 60% of the tolling revenue will come from out-of-state truckers and through truckers is dangerously inaccurate. The truth is that 94% of the truck traffic in this area is directly tied to Rhode Island's economy. Again, 94% of that original 2% truck traffic count that I mentioned earlier will have a direct causal relationship to our state's very fragile and intertwined economy. Let me wrap up my comments by addressing the NEPA process and whether an environmental assessment of two tolling locations in a remote section of the state is sufficient to find a FONSI, or a finding of no significant impact. As I've hopefully demonstrated, the acute impact on tolling local truck costs in this area alone are alarming and should raise dire concerns over the net effects on our living environment. In a meeting with Rhode Island's Federal Highway Administrator Carlos Machado in June of 2016, a meeting in which Mr. Machado afforded my industry the transparency and information that was lacking from our local government and DOT. And Mr. Machado informed me at that time there was a difference of opinion over whether the environmental assessment process should be employed or whether this plan committed a full environmental impact statement. Mr. Machado favored a full environmental impact study and RIDOT an environmental assessment. I wonder what happened. It was evident that RIDOT felt that the deep dive of a full EIS could effectively delay this plan's implementation, but more candidly, I believe that RIDOT at this time and still now wanted to start tolling ASAP to test the waters on this yet-to-be-tested tolling model. By baiting a lawsuit from our industry, they could test their plan. In fact, our governor confirmed this in an interview in April of 2016. When asked on WPRO about provoking a lawsuit, she responded, and I quote, "It's something we're thinking about, and that, I quote, certainly would want to put up one toll and not spend a lot of money to test it before putting up gantries." I have a real problem with this. I believe Federal Highway should have concerns over any governing agency that operates in this fashion, baiting a lawsuit from an aggrieved industry in order to assess the legality of legislation. It's a wonder we're in the shape we are as a state. I close by supporting Director Machado's initial position, one which was summarily dismissed by RIDOT, who ultimately got their way. A state the size of Rhode Island can only be served by a full, holistic assessment of the effects of truck-only tolls. This is the smallest state in the Union, 46 miles, border to border, where everyone knows everyone and everything is interrelated. This is not Indiana or New York, where we are assessing the effects of one interstate's toll effects on a large county. This is 14 gantries with some 33 tolling points, an untested network whose effects cannot be assessed by a targeted, narrow assessment. There will be a domino effect on our supply chain, the likes of which we've never seen, and the cumulative reaction of our industry needs to be fully vetted and studied. I close. The University of Rhode Island professor Len Ladaro, a well-respected voice and authority on our state's economy, consistently points to a lack of due diligence by our government leaders that has resulted in our state's failures. We like to fast-track things as a state. Build it and they will come. But time and time again, they don't come, and we're left shouldering the burden of failed programs. Let's heed Dr. Lodaro's extremely poignant message and warning. The stakes here are far too high for anything short of a full environmental impact study of this plan statewide and in its entirety. This process represents a level of due diligence that our citizens deserve and which has been absent far too long. And by the way, Dr. Lodaro has predicted the harmful effects of truck-only tolling on Rhode Island's economy. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Monique Chartier, StopTollsRI.com. My concerns are threefold that I'd like the federal government to hear. First is the entire premise of the necessity for tolls. Tolls are not necessary. There have been 2 studies that have shown that the money can be found to fix our quote-unquote unsafe bridges within the budget itself. So tolls themselves are unnecessary. Secondly, the idea of taking just 2 gantry locations and studying it in a silo is absurd. This is a statewide program. This is where trucks come into the state from Connecticut. So to try and take this piecemeal and isolate it to this one location is absurd on its face. And the third concern that I have is to echo the Senator Morgan. Toll gantry location 2, DEM has issued a do not construct order essentially to boil it down. DEM has said you cannot proceed because we have not made a wetlands determination with regard to toll gantry location 2. Therefore, this environmental assessment is incomplete, should never have been issued, and we need to start, minimally we need to start from day 1 and get this environmental assessment right, get the wetlands determination correct, get DEM to issue a determination for the wetlands for location 2, and then proceed once again with the assessment and the entire process. Thank you very much.
Larry,
That's me. I oppose it. That's all I have to say.
I did not hear a word he said.
I oppose it.
I'm saying your name wrong.
Delaney.
Absolutely. Larry Gilheeney.
What's the name? What's the last name?
Gilheeney. Gillheeney. I'm also with StopTollsRI.com, and the only thing I have to add to that is that we oppose it. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, good evening. Mike Collins, Gatsby Business Network, here in the trucker, Rhode Island. As we look around the room, everybody here is a Rhode Island citizen. And we need to realize that we've all been fed a pile of BS. Roadworks is a good thing to start off fixing bridges, all right? But the truckers were hung out to dry, all right? Made that we did all this damage and all the rot holes and all the 2x4s you see me hanging up bridges, and everything was our fault. 3 or 4 months ago, LVD now was on Matt Allen, and he clearly says, no, the truckers aren't our fault, but yet we're still on with all the damage. All right, everything you wear, everything you've got on, you go to the hospital, the oxygen you breathe is brought to you by us. All right, why would you want to screw with your supply chain? I don't understand this for the life of me. And if you believe that you think they're going to stop at us, they're coming for your cars, trust me, because they don't have the truck numbers. You don't have the truck numbers to make your gantry course. I know that for a fact because I've been in this thing up to my elbows for 2.5 years. I testified at the State House about this, and I listened to all this crap being spewed to everybody. All right? Enough of this. All right? You people live down here, you're getting trucks coming up Route 3, and they're going to say my name right on the sidewalk. I'm telling you right now. All right? All right? That's number 1. Okay? I feel bad for that. But on the other aspect, you know what? I'm second-generation truckman in the state of Rhode Island. I'm trying to save my business. I employ 40-plus people, and these bastards are going to put me out of business. All right? That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Darren Roth. I'm with the American Trucking Associations. We're the national representative for the trucking industry. ATA is very much opposed to the roadworks tolling
Slow
proposal.
down. If you're going to read from that, can you just read slowly?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. ATA is very much opposed to the roadworks tolling proposal. Never before has a state either tolled trucks only or tolled existing interstates on a network basis. The proposal is unparalleled in our nation's history and potentially precedent-setting. There is no previous experience to rely on, no studies of other states' experience to point to when determining the potential effects on traffic congestion, the environment, safety, or the economy. Neither RIDOT nor FHWA can say today with confidence what would happen if vehicles traveling on previously untolled interstates were subjected to tolling. It is clear that neither the environmental assessment nor the traffic and revenue analysis provide these answers. Both are fatally flawed documents that cannot and should not lead FHWA to issue a FONSI for locations 1 and 2. I'll point out the most pressing issues with these documents and expand in our written comments. First, a separate EA for locations 1 and 2 ignores the cumulative effects of full network tolling. Furthermore, if a FONSI is issued and RIDOT later proceeds with an EA for the remainder of toll gantries, what happens if significant enough issues are revealed to prevent tolling on the remainder of the system? What's left is tolling only at the state's border, which poses a clear constitutional issue. Second, the environmental route analysis for locations 1 and 2 is clearly inadequate. There are obvious additional routes to which trucks will divert. This omission by itself renders the EA effectively unusable. Third, the traffic and revenue analysis assumes that through trucks will be barred from using alternative routes. However, in August, the State Traffic Commission rejected RIDOT's request to impose these restrictions. The EA's entire analysis assumes that these restrictions are in place and that as a result, diversion is reduced by 50%. Even though the traffic and revenue report included a sensitivity analysis that excluded enforcement effects, the EA did not consider this alternative scenario. Again, this omission by itself renders the EA effectively unusable. Fourth, the EA did not consider funding alternatives other than tolls. RIDOT attempts to justify this by claiming that tolling is necessary for the replacement or reconstruction of the 3 bridges that are to be tolled due to a lack of revenue from other sources. However, according to the most recent Transportation Improvement Plan, project costs for only the Wood River Valley Bridge are to be paid for with tolls. In fact, of the roughly $32 million currently programmed for improvements to these bridges, just $2 million is designated as toll revenue. $2 million represents less than 0.5% of RIDOT's annual budget. It is absurd on its face that RIDOT could not have identified an alternative revenue source. Finally, the EA does not consider the possibility of a successful legal challenge to the tolling structure. The EA should have accounted for this possibility through a sensitivity analysis or at a minimum included a legal review. RIDOT should either be required to produce for comment a revised EA that addresses the many errors and deficiencies and looks at the network effects of tolls at all proposed locations, or an EIS that looks at the network effects. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Pierre, 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 Duber,
First name's Irwin, R-I-W-I-N. Last name Pierce, P-I-E-R-C-E, and a resident of Richmond. Have been for all my life. First of all, you're a young man, and I don't want to throw any stones at you. I could go back to the beginning of time when this problem with the bridges started, but it'd take too long. But I will try to get to the environmental end of this. Many, many years ago, and I was a culprit just like a lot of other Rhode Islanders, we complained about the roads. Everything, snow and everything, but like in the late 50s, early 60s, it was the case. The roads were very poorly cleared. The word went out around 61 or 62 from DOT, I think it was before Wood took over. They wanted the roads white, hit the bridges first. And that's been going on ever since. Now, you look at the bridges and you ask yourself, what happened to them? There's a story to it. Now, let's go back and say the chemicals they were using, they destroyed, and there's people here to verify, they destroyed many wells in Hope Valley. They also, I think it's up there around the school on 102, they did a job on that. You look at the turnaround and look at the vegetation along the roads, they're destroying that, because they've done it in my yard and they've done it in your yards. And but getting now to the bridges and that, I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit here. But as I say, go back to the bridges of white, hit the bridges first with your chemicals and etc. So as time went on, the chemicals destroyed the cement, exposing the steel construction. The chemicals also destroyed the vegetation along the roads, your lawns, your trees, and everything. They destroyed wells, as documented in that. And they're still using the same chemicals today to clear the roads. So what I'm going to get to is this. I've got asbestosis. I'm on breathing machines 4 hours a day. I have to carry meds with me. There's no picnic. You people go down the road, you commuters and that, in the morning or after, I don't care, when the roads are white, they got the powder, you got your air conditioner going, your heater's going, you're breathing that dust in, and you turn around, and my question is, what is that doing to your lungs? The other one thing I'd like to say to the residents of Rhode Island, look at Rhode Island, the taxpayers as a gold mine. The miners are those, like we'll use for an example, the DOT and anybody that makes a living off those roads or anything. And they turn around, and every time they get a little short on gold, they go to open up a new vein, and they turn around. An example is what you're talking about right now, tolls. They want more money, they have found a way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have, Royce, we have your sign. Just again, if anybody would like to speak, we have Brandon Clerk and Karen Clerk. Please sign the sheet. Barbara Albo.
It's Barbara Capaldo, Hopkinton Town Council. Thank you. I don't really want to reiterate everything that people have already said around me, especially the people behind me in the trucking industry. I had a couple of questions overall. One is that because I'm from Hopkinton, one of our major concerns are the 2 bridges in Hope Valley. And I know they are on your plan to strengthen and repair, but I would like to make sure that you move forward with that expeditiously. Since you are even considering the tolls, whether they happen or not, I would like to know in good faith and with consideration that you deal with those 2 bridges as quickly as you can and as efficiently as you can, because there is no way we can move through our small town, especially as they're going to have to be broken down into 1 lane. The other thing is, to me, roads are the office for truckers. Truckers, this is their office, unlike all the rest of us who go to schools or go to buildings. And the reason that we have tolls, the reason that we have taxes for gasoline and diesel is to pay for the infrastructure of the roads. And that has value. And I think everyone pays it, and we all pay it in all of our gas stations, the diesel stations. We pay for the infrastructure of the road. So my question is that if you are planning on tolling these particular trucks? And by the way, for some reason, you seem to have forgotten the oil rigs and the liquid trucks, which are certainly as heavy, if not heavier than the semis. For some reason, they're not on your charts. Are you also planning on lowering all the diesel taxes to offset the road tolls for the truckers?
Hi, I'm Denise Poyer. I'm the Wood Pawcatuck Watershed Association. I'm the project coordinator for the Wood Pawcatuck Wild and Scenic River Study. My comment is directed mostly at the location number 1, which is entirely within the river corridor system. The Wood River is the most pristine and scenic river in the state. It will most likely receive Wild and Scenic designation in 2018. And I don't understand why it was necessary to locate any type of construction within this river corridor. I think it's short-sighted. This will be the first and probably only rivers in the state that are ever going to be designated wild and scenic. And I do not believe that we should be doing any type of construction within those river corridors. I also am concerned about the fact that the diversion route will likely take trucks over other rivers, over the Wood River, and these could contribute to problems with water quality of the Wood River.
Thank you. My name is Melania Vanderhoot. I didn't plan on speaking, but after listening to everybody, I agree with everything that's been said, especially the environmental problems that we're having. But we've ignored the one, I feel, our biggest asset in environmental, and that's our children. We have school buses that go up and down the road. If I were a truck driver, I wouldn't pay the toll and I would come through our towns. As it is, when a bus stops, we all stop and we back up a long way. Someone gets out, they check under, over. Now, I'm going to ask a semi-truck to stop going. Am I going to be sure that that truck is going to stop? That it's going to keep our kids safe? I worry about that. The gentleman said something about not being able to turn his truck around. Our buses have small roads. We cannot turn around. It's going to create more traffic in our towns. It's then going to ruin our roads, okay? Because the trucks will be coming here. So you're saying they spoiled the roads and you're making them pay, they'll come here. And who'll take care of our roads? That's where I think we should be. The kids, as far as, now we came here, we have got clean air. We're fine. But when they'll come down our roads, that can change everything. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next we have, is it Paul Bouchard?
Good evening. My name is Paul Michaud, and I am the president of the Richmond Town Council. I'm here tonight to express my opinion, basically that I do oppose the tolls altogether, and have made that opinion known previously to DOT and so forth. But some of my main concerns, being as the toll booth is going to be, one of the toll booths is going to be located in Richmond itself. My main concern is Route 3. It's a local road. State road is a local road. And I understand that there probably would be a lot of trucks that may use Route 3 to avoid the tolls. I think I've heard comments of that nature and so forth, and I believe it will happen. My concern about that is it is only a 2-lane state road. There are a few bridges on that state road. Those bridges, in my opinion, at least from what I understand from DOT, are not suited for that kind of truck traffic on a daily basis as the bridges perhaps on Route 95 or an interstate highway. So therefore, that is a concern to me. Also, another concern is I think DOT wants us, the town of Richmond and the other towns as well, to be able to police the fact when those trucks do not come on 95, but yes, use Route 3. So they're going to want the police local police to be able to watch these trucks somehow. I don't know how that's going to work, and make sure that they're not overweight to go over those bridges on Route 3. And if so, then they'd have to be ticketed or so forth and so on. Now, we do not have a gigantic police department in town, but we have a very good police department, of which I am very proud of each and every one of those people. And I'd hate to have to commit a police car or whatever every day watching this type of situation, so that they have to give a ticket to a trucker, whom I have a lot of respect for truckers because I have a lot of relatives and friends who are truckers, and so I know the situation. So that is a big concern to me. Another concern was this environmental impact thing that we have tonight that I'm looking at here. I don't believe this was available to us until just recently. I was wishing that this had been in our hands months ago. As council president and as a member of the other members of our town council, would have liked to have seen something like this a long time ago, so that we could have had some input on this particular document in and of itself. So we haven't had that. I don't have a chance to sit here and read this tonight, but I will take it home and read through it, and maybe have more comments after that. But those are just a few of the comments that I wanted to make tonight and make known. So I hope and pray that the state is really giving a lot of consideration to these trucks going off there. Now I know also, I believe that DOT will probably receive federal funds, I think, to turn over to the state, which in turn would turn over to the town for these police patrols or something like that. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I read something of that nature. So if that's true, that's one thing. But you know, the way I look at it is it's taxpayer money no matter how you look at it, whether it's federal, state, town, it's all taxpayer money. It comes from the same people who live in this town. And I'm not interested in having to raise, the budget to have to cover this particular situation. So those are my comments for tonight, and maybe you'll hear more from me later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Trisha Moore.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. You know, this is public policy. This is about a toll system. Actually, it's going to be the most extensive toll system in the United States. And it affects not just these two bridges, it's going to affect the entire state. And I think when we do public policy, we have to approach it with a wholehearted and honest attempt to understand all the ramifications, not just on this one bridge or that other bridge, but on the entire state, which I think is what the point of an environmental impact study is. And I could not find a more cynical attempt at finding out how this is going to impact not just this community, but Rhode Island, and I'm seeing tonight. This is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Many families are worried about their Thanksgiving dinner. They're worried about traveling maybe out of state to go and see relatives. They are not worried about coming here to a very remote location. This is very cynical. This does not show an honest attempt on the part of DOT or this administration to really study what is going to happen with these tolls. Rhode Island is a tiny state. We're part of this region as well. And though DOT is only concerned about 2 bridges, this is also going to impact our neighbors, Connecticut and Massachusetts. I don't know that they have been informed. I don't know that they have been asked to comment on the use of their roads and their interstates and their communities, as trucks will avoid Rhode Island, go through Connecticut, or not go into southeastern Massachusetts at all because they don't want to pay the tolls. This book is probably 80 or 90 pages. Two-sided. And yet the economic impact of taking $45 million to begin with in tolls only garners 27 lines. That can't possibly be considered a thorough study of the proposed impacts. What we have here is a DOT and an administration that started with a conclusion and worked very hard to get to that conclusion, but not to really do the study of what taking $45 million from our economy, from our consumers, is going to be, if it stays at $45 million. In the minority office, we've actually studied the chargebacks. So if you take $45 million, I think everybody knows that we borrowed money. We're going to pay for toll gantries. We're going to pay to maintain the toll gantries. We're going to pay credit card fees. At the end of the day, we're not even getting $45 million to use on bridges. We're taking $45 million, but we're not going to be able to use $45 million. I think it's as low as $7 million, or even in some cases, it could be a negative by the time the system is built. None of that is covered in here, not even contemplated. You talk about drivers, their value of time and their willingness to pay, like they're willing to pay $40 a day to go through Rhode Island. And yet we have the trucking industry who says, no, they won't be. And you don't take that into account because you had to keep it to 27 lines. You didn't have enough paper to really study it. You didn't have enough time to really do a transparent and open study of what the economic impact is going to be, not just on the trucking industry, but on the consumers, the citizens of Rhode Island. So this is a really cynical document that we have in front of us. We should be thinking not only about the impact that you have here, but of the impact on Rhode Islanders, what's coming out of their wallets. And right now we know it's at least $45 million, and it's probably going to be more because we have to pay for toll gantries, the maintenance of them, the credit card fees, and the interest. And DOT has billions of dollars worth of projects they want to get done. Can the Rhode Island afford billions of dollars? I don't know. It's not in the 27 lines that you put here for the economic impact. And the economic impact is something that you are required as DOT to study. Not 27 lines, but a real study. Cynical, closed. Clearly this administration and this DOT doesn't care. Doesn't care about Rhode Islanders, the impact upon hard-working Rhode Islanders, doesn't care about the impact on Connecticut, doesn't care about the impact on southeastern Massachusetts. And yet, if the federal highway administration is really going to look at this, they need to be concerned, not just with Rhode Island, with the region, and on a real study of the economic impact on our state. I'm actually disgusted with what I see here. 27 lines out of 160, 180 pages. It's shameful.
Once again, we have two clerks, Brandon and Karen, if you can sign up this week, get the sign-up sheets, as well as we also have the other locations and some information about these locations. Next is Bob Patroci. Welcome, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you. Representative Bob Quattrochi. I just finished my first session of my first term, and I've learned a lot of things. One of the things I've learned, which I probably knew before, is the difficulty in which the state makes it for citizens to come and speak against issues that the state feels that they are determined to ram down our throats. And tonight is a perfect example of that, as been stated earlier by others. I have a concern about federal funding. New Jersey Turnpike, the Maine Turnpike, Mass Turnpike, New York Thruway, and others, they're all toll highways. And because of that, they receive zero federal funding. So although what's being touted as it's only 50 cents a mile to get through the state of Rhode Island, in actuality, there's only, 100 bridges or so, 1,300 bridges, 1,200 bridges, whatever they are. Let's do the simple math. 1,300 bridges. 13 bridges at 100 feet apiece. You have 1,300 feet of roadway, 1,300 feet of roadway that you have to pay $20 to drive over, because the rest of the pavement in this state is federally funded. Does that mean we're going to lose our federal funding if we start tolling? Now, Rhode Island has historically been known for many admirable firsts, going back to its beginnings. This is not a first that is admirable, breaking new ground in a discriminatory manner against the trucking industry. This is a dangerous, dangerous, slippery slope that we're traveling down. Thank you.
That's okay. He doesn't point out. Really?
Good evening, sir. Michael Geary, concerned citizen. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for opening this up to us. On the other hand, I'd like to say it's very disingenuous we're doing this 2 days before Thanksgiving. You know, families have plans to go away, and all of a sudden this comes up, and some people do have a tendency to miss it for that. My big concern is I'm a resident of Bradford, which is part of the Ashway-Hopkinton Village, which is Route 3, 216, part of 91. If these truckers defer on these roads, it's already heavily traveled roads. Route 3 north through Ashway-Hopkinton is the gateway to 95 north, 95 south, whichever you would, sir. And the roads themselves, all three of those roads, aren't in the greatest shape as they should be. It's a state road. I'm not going to sit here and beat it to death about state roads, who owns what. But if these trucks get on these roads, get involved with everything that goes on the roads during the normal day, it's just going to be a complete mess. I am totally opposed to tolling. I think it's nothing more than a money grab, and I think it's just taking money and blaming the truckers for this isn't. The past administrations and the current administration are the ones to blame for this. This administration is taking every citizen in this state on an express ride to the trash can. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, is there any more signatures? No. So, would anybody else like to speak on this matter? Would anybody else like to speak on this matter? Would anybody else like to speak on this matter? Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk, are there any other signature pages at this point in time? No, how many signature pages are there? Yeah, that's why I asked them to come. All right. For the record, Mr. Stenographer, there are 7 pages with 2 to 4 signatures on each page representing the individuals who spoke in this evening's matter. I'd like to enter all the 7 pages as an exhibit to this public hearing, as well as make that a full Exhibit A, and then also as Exhibit B, the actual environmental assessment, the booklet itself, with the statement of environmental assessment, total locations 1 and 2, Hopkinton, Richmond, and Exeter, Rhode Island, dated November 1st, 2017. Enter that as a record as Exhibit B. At this time, would anybody else like to speak on this matter? With that, we now call this public hearing closed. Thank you all for coming, and happy Thanksgiving.